Hey, I'm Adam Anderson, and this is
Carrie Anderson, and welcome to this week's Whole Life Entrepreneurship Facebook Live. It is
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo. We may be a little Cinco de Mayo'd.
Yeah, Carrie, we set up the light, and Carrie's like, "You think we're lit enough?" And I was like, "Well, I've had tequila and bourbon, and but like in moderate amount,
Litty fresh.
to the max,
Yeah.
legit,
Yeah.
legit."
Well, thanks for joining us this week. This week on the Whole Life Entrepreneurship private Facebook group, we had a discussion sort of based around one of the things that we have been doing on our group, which is hashtag For Real Friday. And so I wanted to kind of take a minute and sort of describe why I started doing hashtag For Real Friday. And it was because another entrepreneur's wife and I were having a discussion one day, and we were just talking about how hard it was for us to relate to people because other people didn't really get our lifestyles. Would ask a lot about why we chose to do some of this stuff, and it just kind of reiterated the fact that we needed a community. And in doing the community part, though, I kind of realized that something that I think is really important to connection is this being open and being real and not, hey Renee, and not acting like things are hunky freaking dory all the time, because life is messy. What we do is a lot of work and a lot of effort. What Adam does in his own realms is just a lot of work. And I never want to, happy Cinco de Mayo, whoop whoop.
Focus up.
Sorry.
We're talking about serious vulnerability stuff.
Yeah.
No room for tequila.
And so we were just finding that it was really, really challenging to find people to relate to and bring some of our issues, our realness to, because we were kind of feeling a little bit judged. Or rather, maybe, I don't know that you ever feel judged. I just don't think
so
that.
So it's the flip side of the coin, right? You would talk about stuff in front of folks and then feel judged. And I was like, no, this topic is just not appropriate for this group, so I would just never bring it up. And the result of that is that a lot of my relationships never got very deep because I never allowed a lot of what I actually was going through. Because I couldn't be vulnerable in front of these folks, I didn't allow them to be able to love on me. I didn't allow them into my life. And that's kind of the whole point here, is that if you don't show vulnerability,
right,
then you don't get access to other people pouring into you. And that can really suck a lot, especially if you convince yourself no one gets it, and then you are an island unto yourself.
Yeah, you've used that phrase a good bit, that you were kind of a man on a lone island.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's why they have that phrase. It's lonely at the top.
It can be.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So I know Renee had talked earlier this week about you having a very, very supportive family. I think that's awesome. We have also had a very supportive family. Adam's parents especially, I think, have been very, very supportive of you always going and doing your own thing.
They're very confused. They all have multiple master's degrees and PhDs, and I dropped out of college, and they're like, we are pretty certain you're ours. Regardless, we're proud of you. I'm like, fantastic.
Yeah. And it was even interesting after your brother had gone to school for what, 12 years or something?
Only 9.
Oh.
Only 9.
Still, 9 years or whatever to get masters and PhDs and stuff, and he still worked for our company. His older brother.
C students hire the A students.
There you go. So, I think sometimes that for my family, because we're sort of from a Southern culture where, we're just regular people. I think especially like my dad just kind of had a hard time wrapping his mind around, you just did like real jobs. And so this elusive stuff, I think that you have sort of done, he's just never been able to quite wrap his mind around.
Well, I mean, and it's
the sales part, maybe.
Well, and it's completely understandable because if you think about your people are descendants from the Highlanders of Scotland who came into the Smoky Mountains. And those people are programmed for honor culture, for, hey, we got to protect this mountaintop. And any one of you in our tribe who goes away to do something else just made the whole tribe weaker. So the whole culture was set up to protect your family, to be part of the family, and don't stand out. So,
well, and also that you served a real purpose. Like, this was the blacksmith for the community, and this was, the horse salesman. You know what I mean? Like, everybody had a real concrete...
It's technical.
Yeah.
Horse salesman.
Salesman.
Husbandry.
He has his own, like, radio commercials. But because you sort of had...
Come on down! So many jokes about glue. Yeah.
But because you kind of had this job that was risky, I think for him that was scary. And handing you his daughter that was like, all right, y'all go live this sort of risky lifestyle. And I think he even said in one of the comments, like he said, don't ever stop doing your nursing stuff because... you might need that to fall back on. And it's not a terrible reason to have it, but, I just always thought it was funny. Like, at least if he doesn't succeed, you'll have a real job. You'll always be able to take care of yourself, even if he can't.
By the way, that was something that I felt really made our marriage weak earlier on, because you always had a plan B.
Yeah. No, I think that's true.
It wasn't just about revenue, about this. It was like, well, if he doesn't work out, you make sure you're okay. You handle all that. And I don't know that that's horrible advice. I'm not judging it one way or the other, but when you decided there was no plan B and that you were all the way in, we really, we started making progress.
I would say that is absolutely true. So why do you think it would be important? Because I know at one point this week in the Facebook group, you were like, but I don't want to be vulnerable. How do I do that? Where would I even start? And that's kind of why I started with this hashtag For Real Friday thing, sort of making a little light of it. Like, well, look, it's just this silly thing. Why do you find that to be challenging?
I am so programmed to only pick out the stuff that is going to affirm me and build me up that sometimes it's a hard time for me to reflect what is something that other people might consider like real, right? To me, I just roll with everything, and it's just part of the big picture. So pulling something out, it's kind of hard for me to process splitting all that stuff up.
But do you think that it's essential?
Yeah. So
to connectivity?
Yeah, but I'll go back to what I said earlier. I don't share with the plebeians, the peasants. If you can't, there's a saying that if you've been shot at in combat, you can't describe it to people, and if you have been shot at, you don't need it to be explained, right? And it's the same thing true when I'm trying to work through stuff. And then the people I hang out with who maybe don't run businesses or not senior executives and don't have ownership of results.
Yeah.
Man, we talk about the weather, right? So what was it, the quote from Roosevelt's wife? What's Roosevelt's wife? Eleanor Roosevelt said that low-minded people talk about people, average-minded people talk about events, and high elite-minded people talk about ideas. And the majority of the conversations I have with people are around events and other people. And those are just fatiguing. And when that's the topic, I don't feel vulnerable. I don't feel like I have permission to feel vulnerable. I can't enter into that and open up because that person really enjoys talking about other people. And if I'm vulnerable in front of those people, well, I'll just become a topic.
Do you feel too like you have kind of positioned yourself as this expert or sage or whatever, and so it's hard for you to need things or for you to have people to ask advice from or to get guidance from?
Yeah, but for to just clear something up, I didn't position myself as a guru, master of things. The world did that, and I answered the call. I just answered the call. But yeah, when you are the guy standing up doing the keynotes, when you're the guy who has all the stuff, but I feel like I've done a real good job over the last couple of years of saying I am not the expert. What I am doing is showing the best that I can. And by the way, we just got a low power warning on Carrie's phone. Cinco de Mayo got in the way of logistics tonight.
Yeah, maybe you didn't think this all the way through.
Yeah, well, let's talk fast. So, I got this quote I wrote down earlier today when I was thinking about it. And this quote is by the great theologian Adam Anderson. It's from me. So we were sitting there talking this morning and we were listening and I had this thing go through my head and it says to you folks, there is no improvement without some form of uncomfortableness or pain. Yeah. And the way you access that pain so that it leads to improvements in your relationships is to be real with yourself first. Where's that pain coming from? What's that uncomfortableness? Let me understand it, and then find somebody you can trust to be vulnerable with that uncomfortableness and that pain too. And that act of understanding why it's painful to you, and then sharing that painful to somebody else, sharing why that is painful with somebody else through an act of vulnerability, really just kind of cleans out all of this garbage and gives you access to more power, more intuition, more wisdom, and you can go and do a whole lot of other stuff, right? So
I agree. I also think that just by letting down those walls and letting other people in, you really allow for just so much growth.
Sure.
Yeah.
Although I've been also raised up in the corporate world where we have all these memes like, none of us is as dumb as all of us, right?
I kind of love that, actually.
So you have to, if consciousness is contagious and you surround yourself with people who are continuously, at that lower minded, they find lower truths that lead to lower facts, which lead to lower ideas, and that's who you surround yourself with, absolutely none of us is as dumb as all of us, right?
Yeah.
So who's in your inner circle? Who's in your community? I mean, that's the whole point of all this.
Well, and I got a few comments this week too from, especially from Elle. I too have just felt that when you find your people, when you find your tribe, how we're corgieing today.
It's a coffee cup. I'm trying to engage kids.
Yeah. But when you find your people and you find your tribe, man, don't let them go. I mean, let's figure out a way to stay open and stay connected. Because I think when we try and pretend like everything is okay, and I do think that sometimes you have to choose to be happy. You have to choose to just like put on the face and get to the next moment of the day or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think that it's just a good opportunity for a reality check that all of this is super temporary. And, I think the For Real Friday for me is often an opportunity for me to kind of set myself up to be able to look back at this sort of diary, basically, that you and I are kind of making, to see how far we are a year from now, to kind of remind myself that, this year we're traveling a ton. Last year, this time, I was able to stay at home with my kid when he was sick. So maybe it's a good reminder next year to be able to sort of restructure my priorities then. So I think too, it's just about checking in with your humanity again, and just remembering where you are, good, bad, and ugly, and being open enough to share that so that we can kind of learn and grow together. Now, all that being said, we are moving into this upcoming week something that we are hoping will sort of tie some of this in together. So Adam and I are heading to New York City. New York City.
I was gonna do that, but I've thought to myself, nobody knows a chili or salsa commercial that's New York City.
Your girl does.
Love you so much, baby.
Thanks, hon. So we're heading to New York this week for some conflict resolution training. So here's the thing about connection. Here's the thing about being close with people. Here's the thing.
Tell us the thing. Tell us the thing.
Sometimes you get into the nitty gritty, and sometimes you see some of the good, bad, and ugly of other people. Sometimes that sort of knocks up against your own values and your own ideals, and sometimes that person is your partner. So
sometimes, let's go with like most of the time. Let's go with most of the time.
A lot of time, because that's who you're the most real and honest with.
Well, it's math. It's the person you're spending the majority of your time with, even if you're asleep next to each other, right? I mean,
true. So this should be a very interesting week coming up. I'm super excited about it, but to kind of get us back on track with where we are with WLE right now, we have not, as of yet, I've written pieces about it, some people know about it, some people have done our assessments in the past, but we've never done a video on our methodology, our whole life entrepreneurship methodology. And that methodology is centered around something that we call the 3 C's. Mm-hmm. Would you like to explain what that is?
Well, yes, I would. So the 3 C's are something that Carrie developed by looking back at how she handled those years where things weren't so good. What did she decide to do about it? And she pulled out some major themes. And the first one is chill. The second one is communication. And the third one is community. And we're going to dive into each one of those in the coming weeks. Mm-hmm. And kind of explain.
Just to sort of go over them, right?
And we've developed some tools to help with all that, but what we're hoping is that after you become comfortable with the concepts, you can come up with some activities that everyone else can use, because we're trying to share what we know and, preach from where we're coming from. But we are a very small sliver, or Slytherin. I mean, depends.
Slytherin? I could totally see you as Slytherin.
I think I totally would have been Slytherin.
I think I'm Hufflepuff.
So, we're a tiny sliver of the global universal wisdom on these subjects, and you guys have all had these great life experiences. So as we talk about this stuff, we'll share our activities, but then we'll also say what's the purpose of the activities, and hopefully you guys can share some of your own wisdom about these are things that you might have done to chill and to be intentional, or how you communicate, or how you build community. And I'm really excited for the next couple of weeks, because I feel like I'm going to learn an awful lot.
Yeah, we're hoping to be able to learn an awful lot about you guys. Ooh. Because going forward, we'll still be doing our Facebook Lives, but it's time for us to start doing some live interviews. And so, again, that's just sort of our way of introducing
Not having to produce content.
I mean, if we were going to be real open and vulnerable about it.
I learned from Renee. He's like, guys, Facebook Live's the way to go.
But it helps us to get to know you guys better. And we really, really, really just want you all to give us your input, give us your feedback, and help us build out some of these tools. One that we will be giving you access to this week is this 3 C's assessment. Mm-hmm. And it's just a form. So as many of you as can and are willing to fill it out, we would really appreciate it.
Yep.
And you can share the results with us, or you can just kind of keep them for yourself. There's there's no real score. It's just more a way for you to get a feel for where you are. And it will very clearly, our hope is that it will very clearly give you an idea of areas that you could use some work in.
Right, and chances are you're going to be really strong in one of these three. You're going to be
One or
good
two
at
of them,
chilling,
right.
right? So, she's absolutely right. And if you've taken one of these assessments before, we're updating it because we're releasing a workbook coming up, and I'm going to be modifying the online self-assessment to align with what's in the workbook.
And even if you have taken it before, even with the workbook tools, we're hoping that you can use this sort of as your benchmark going forward. This is sort of how you can tell where you are. And you should really, in theory, take it every month and use it as a tool.
Every month, every quarter.
Every quarter to see kind of where you are and what needs some work. So we will drop all that fun on you tomorrow. My hope is tomorrow.
You're going to be on a plane tomorrow.
I know, but I'll also be killing time in an airport. So anyway, is there anything else you'd like to add as far as talking about vulnerability?
I think sometimes you need to choose to be vulnerable with things that you may not be perfect at, but you still want to share with the world. And I feel like I want to share something. Yeah.
Okay.
It's Cinco de Mayo, right? That's it.
Could use some improvement if I were to be real honest and vulnerable with you.
Could maybe use some sobriety? His fingers are slow.
All right, whole life. Thank you so much for joining us. We will hang out with you some this week and tune in for our live next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye.